Hi guys, it's Marcy Hurst here, and we are going to be working through Chapter 4, Transforming Objects today. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to add, edit, rename, and reorder artboards in an existing document. You're going to navigate through those artboards that you created. You're going to work with rulers and guides, which is extremely important out in the real world. You're going to move, scale, and rotate objects using a variety of methods, reflect, shear, and distort objects as well. Position objects with precision, position with measurement labels, and then lastly use the transform tool to distort an object. Chapter 4 starts off working with your artboards and sizing them and all that good stuff, so be sure to work through those parts of the assignment. I'm going to start off with scaling an object, and you can see here I have the wheel from the project file. And we're going to create a scaled down copy of this wheel for use in the business cards that you guys are going to create. So what I'm going to do to scale this object is first I'm going to select it. And I want this to be the exact same, just smaller. So when you have, for example, effects or any kind of stroke or anything like that on your object, those things won't necessarily scale proportionately unless you've done the following. So make sure your transform window is open, and then within that window you're going to go over to the options menu and make sure scale, strokes, and effects is also checked. That way, whatever we do to the object, everything's going to come through just the same as it is in the actual original version. So with that having been done, I'm now going to create a copy of this object. So I will position my cursor and hold down that Option key on a Mac and the Alt key on a PC, and then just drag a copy over to the side. Leaving it selected, I'm going to go over to my toolbox and I'm going to go down until I find the Scale tool. Now I'm just going to double click on this tool to open up the window for it, and what is happening here is going to affect the thing that I had selected. And so I want to uniformly scale this object to 50%. Notice the Scale, Strokes, and Effects option can be checked here instead of in the Transform panel. And if you check the preview, you can see what it's actually going to look like when you're done. And then I'm going to say OK. So there we go. I have a scaled version of my wheel. Now notice if I select this again, and then I go over to my Scale tool, double click to open up that panel. Notice I can create a copy this way as well. So there are two ways to do the same thing. And now I have that scaled version right here. So that's how we scale an object. The next tool we're going to look at is the reflection tool. When you reflect an object, Illustrator flips the object across an invisible vertical or horizontal axis. In a similar way to scaling and rotating, when you reflect an object, you either designate the reference point or use the object center point by default. Now you would want to use the reflection tool if you just need to flip something around, or to create a double image or a shadow or a reflection in water. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to use your selection tool to select the object that you want to reflect. We're actually going to, you can just flip it with the reflection tool, but what we want to do is we want to create a copy to flip. So I'm going to Control Copy that image, and then I'm going to paste it in front. And now I actually have two bicycles there. Trust me, they're there, and you'll find that out when we flip one over. So with the top one still selected, I'm going to go over to my toolbox and go down until I find the Reflect tool. The Reflect tool is actually behind the Rotate tool. So if you don't have it on top there, you can just click on the arrow and hold down until you get both tools. Now, if I were to just flip this, you can see right here is the flipping point, but I want to actually set that point myself because I don't want to flip it in the middle. I want to flip it from the front part of the bicycle tire. So if I click there, I've now moved that flipping point to the front part of the tire. Now I'm going to hold down my shift keys to constrain the angles at which this will flip, and I'm going to just click off to the left, and I'm going to rotate clockwise until the image is where I want it to be. So click and drag, and notice how it's clicking to each of the angles, and there we have it. So now I have two bicycles, one an exact mirror image of the second one. So another tool that we can use to create shadows or other effects in our artwork is the shearing tool. Shearing an object slants or skews the sides of the object along the axis that you specify, keeping opposite sides parallel and making the object asymmetrical. And this is a great thing to use for shadows. So I'm going to use our bicycle like we did before, and select it, copy it, and then paste the copy in front, and that's the one that I'm actually going to shear. With it still selected, I'm going to go over to my tool panel, and underneath the scale tool is the shear tool. So if it's not already selected, you just click and hold down, and then the others will show up. Similar to the reflection tool, I can then put the axis of the shear where I want it. It will default to the center of the image, but I want this to be down at the bottom because I want it to look like a shadow. So I click to place that point there, and then once it's there, then I'm going to hold down my shift key and click and sort of drag off of the image until it stretches out onto the ground as if it were a shadow. And now I'm going to let go. With it still selected though, I need to change the opacity of the image, and that can be found up in the control panel. Remember, the control panel will edit the specific qualities about the object you have selected. So I'm going to put this down at about 20%. To become a shadow. I also would like this to be in the back because the actual object is in front of the shadow. So I'm going to click on my selection tool and move this object to the back. And voila, we have a shadow.